Fade away.
Let me step back and kiss myself. MVP time. Windy City Assassin does it again.
Live from WICB Radio.
Inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown.
This is
It's a goal. The Stanley Cup to the Chicago Blackhawks.
Chicago's Beat.
And it is a beautiful Friday, May 25th, 2012 in the city of Chicago. Hello, I am Mike Mercado and welcome to WICB. Don't forget you can follow the show at mmercado2333 or comment us at Facebook/MikeMercado2333.com. And it was a great night last night in Chicago sports as the Chicago White Sox beat the Minnesota Twins to get one game closer to first place in the AL Central.
Can put it on the board! Yes!
And the Cubs didn't play, so they did not lose.
Not possible.
For the Sox, Phil Humber tried to go for his first win since the no-hitter. The White Sox beat the Minnesota Twins 11-8. Humber goes 4 1/3, giving up 6 hits and 5 runs. The White Sox bats have come alive since the Cubs series, and this is exactly what the White Sox needed. They need to get hot right now. The weather's turning. U.S. Cellular is a launching pad. And the way the pitching staff has been going, the White Sox will be in first place before the All-Star break. Cleveland still doesn't want to lose, though. I mean, I do not want to take anything away from Cleveland. I just don't see the longevity in this team. I mean, go ahead. Name 5 Cleveland Indians right now. Go ahead, I'll give you another second. Exactly. The White Sox have the pitching. They have the solid hitting. There's reputation on this team. As a Cub fan, whose team plays in the National League, day in and day out, yes, the White Sox have a very potent lineup as well as a solid pitching rotation. It was always about, can they put it together? Do they have enough? It's still early in the season. They are winning the games against the easy teams on their schedules, which good teams are supposed to do. The tests are going to come when they start playing the good teams later on in the season. Is the bullpen going to stay up? Is Jake Peavy's arm going to stay attached? Do these guys really have the consistency in there? Where is Phil Humber? Where exactly is he? Is he the no-hitter guy, or is he the guy who's still looking for his first win since then? So there is still questions there, but definitely this season, at least, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it looks pretty bright for the White Sox. Now, on the north side, you can't really say the same thing, but at least for now, they need to keep winning these games, and they have to get ready for that series against Cleveland. And speaking of the Cleveland Indians, they keep on with their winning ways as they beat the Detroit Tigers 2-1. And in the National League Central, St. Louis Cardinals lose to the Philadelphia Phillies 10-9, and the Atlanta Braves drop to the Cincinnati Reds 6-3. And in the big national game, the Miami Heat eliminated the Indiana Pacers 105-93. On the last show, I had a feeling Miami was going to end this series at Game 6. Something happened in this series where Miami just kind of turned it on. And it's always been about that. Even without Chris Bosh, you always knew. Every time Miami hit the court, they had the 2 best players in the world. Kevin Durant's right in there. Derrick Rose is in there when he's healthy. Russell Westbrook. There's a lot of players in that list. But right now, you can't argue if somebody was to tell you Dwayne Wade and LeBron James are the top 2 players in the NBA right now. Just between them 2 alone, you had 41 points from Dwayne Wade, 10 rebounds, going 17-25. And then LeBron James goes for 28 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. And he's going to get no love, no respect, nothing for that game. As much as I don't like Miami, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, that stat line is ridiculous from both of them. Now, Dwayne Wade's going to get all the attention because he had the 41 points, he had the 22 points in the first half. But LeBron James' box score that night is ridiculous. And then what was the big thing about Miami? The big thing you had to do, there's 2 things you have to do to beat the Miami Heat. It's not what LeBron and Dwayne Wade are going to do. It's what everybody else around them is going to. And Mike Miller off the bench gives them 12 points and goes 4 from 7 for the 3-point line. I've been as critical from Mike Miller as anybody else since he signed with the Miami Heat. I think he was the most overrated signing. That got overhyped. The guy walks around like glass, is brittle, and he stepped up in that game. The box score didn't show what you saw in the game, though, from Mike Miller, but they did get 12 points from him, and they got big 3-pointers from him. The final score doesn't really justify the game. It was close throughout it, but it always just kind of seemed Miami never really lost control of it. And then Mario Chalmers gives them 15 points and then goes 3 from 4 from the 3-point line, which is huge for Miami. If Miami starts hitting 3-pointers and they hit their jump shots, they're almost impossible to beat. Paul George going for 11 points and 10 rebounds. You know, there's good double-doubles and then there's bad double-doubles. And Paul George is one of those players who, you know, like I said on the last show, if they were going to win this game, they needed another big game from Paul George. And 11 points and 10 rebounds was not it. George Hill gives him 18 points, which is nice. Roy Hibbert, another one. 12 points and 8 rebounds. That is the second thing you have to do with Miami. You have to stop the other guys and attack the inside. They have nobody that could have stopped Roy Hibbert, and he goes for 12 points and 8 rebounds. Just never got established. David West having a huge game, 24 points, a 2-time All-Star, another one who's very underrated because of the team he plays for, having to guard LeBron James all game too, so it was a good series, good showing. And Danny Granger really putting a name for himself with 15 points, and especially after hurting himself. Indiana, who's a very good three-point shooting team, goes 6 from 17 from the three-point line. Miami had control throughout the whole game. Indiana hit a lot of big three-pointers, they hit a lot of big shots to keep them in the game. And they show that they're going to be formidable for the next few years with Chicago, with New York, Miami. But it's funny, you hear all the national media and how quick people were to jump and say Miami's out of this series. Indiana's going to win this. Indiana's a good team. Don't forget last year in the first round with the Bulls, how tough of a series they gave them. And that's my point, is these are the NBA playoffs. It's good defensive teams, and good defense keeps you in games. A good bench keeps you in games. Having 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA keeps you in games. And with you're in games and playoffs down the stretch, anything can happen. And you saw that in this series. Indiana took advantage, won a game in Miami, made it a series. But at the end, it's a 6-game series. That's what you're going to remember from it. Indiana showed that they're going to be a good team for the next couple of years. But Miami just turned it on. And depending on who wins on Saturday night between Boston and Philadelphia, can determine how easy it is for them to get to the NBA Finals. And in that Game 7 on May 26th between the Sixers and the Celtics, it's a toss-up. You could take a coin right now, and you have just as good of a guess to pick who's going to win it than anybody on ESPN or TNT or NBC. Now, as a Bulls fan, I'm not a fan of neither of these teams. But as a basketball fan, it's been an interesting series. It's been hard to watch at times. At times, it's been very sloppy. It seems like both teams don't know how to score. But at times, you're seeing good defense. You're seeing very good coaching. And you're seeing at times people step up in big moments. Now, there's certain things that have to happen for either team to win. A lot of things are going to predicate to the little things. This is a series where the little things are going to determine who's going to win. And you've seen it in every single game. It's the out-hustling, the little rebounds, the right placements, getting charges, fouls at certain points, timeouts. It's the little things. The first thing is you have to keep Rajon Rondo from having a triple-double, from doing a double-double, from being able to attack the rim. You know, when he has one of his 14 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds kind of nights, you're not winning that. Because that means he got everybody involved. He was attacking the rim. He got inside the paint. You don't have to know the score of any Boston Celtics game. Go on the box score and look at Rajon Rondo. If you see triple-double, they won. If you see more than 11 assists and 10 rebounds, they won. And especially if he gets double-digit points. And just like Miami, Boston has one big flaw. They have their starting lineup to where it ends. Philadelphia could keep another guy from stepping up. Philly can win this game. Philly's not afraid to go into Boston and win. Boston cannot allow Jrue Holiday to go off for 20 points. If Boston allows Philadelphia's point guards to run amok and hit jump shots and attack the rim, Boston cannot beat Philly. Because Philly's defense is too good to allow Boston to get off crazy runs. Now, Paul Pierce, we've seen it happen time and time again where he steps up and completely takes over games. But at what point are all those miles and playoff battles going to catch up to him? That's always been my concern with this Boston team. Some people call it wisdom. I call it age. This is basketball. Joints, knees, ankles. These are big guys running up and down the court 48 minutes. And then over 6 months in a season, training camp, and we're talking about over the 15 years that they've played, at some point, it catches up. Dwayne Wade has been able to turn it on, turn it off. You've seen Kobe Bryant at times. But the biggest difference in this series has always been the fourth quarter. Because at the end of games, you're seeing it. Who are the guys with their hands to their knees, holding their jerseys, gasping for air? It's the Boston Celtics. And because of that, I believe that Philadelphia will upset the Boston Celtics in Game 7 and meet the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. I just think this Philadelphia team has nothing to lose. This is Boston's series. Boston has given up every single win that Philadelphia has gotten. The big thing Philly has done is stayed in every game because of their defense. And because of that, if they stay in this game and they go into the fourth quarter and it's only a 2-point lead one way or the other, I think Philadelphia is going to pull it off. Now, when it gets to the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't think either of these teams really poses too much of a threat for Miami. Not like Indiana did. And the one thought I've had about the Western Conference over the last few days, we haven't had a lot of time to talk about it since there's such a delay between the last time we've seen them play to the first game of the Western Conference Finals. But neither team has really had one of those smack-in-the-face kind of games. There's been a lot of close games, but at no point throughout the whole playoffs before OKC and the Spurs have you really sat there and, wow, this team really can't win the whole thing. Miami has gone through some turbulation throughout their destination to the finals, or at least to the conference finals. And that's what I think they're going to have the advantage going into the finals if they get past either Philadelphia or Boston. You see, because San Antonio and Oklahoma City, if it ends up being as good of a series as I believe and a lot of people believe it's going to be, that's going to be their first time really experiencing a tough NBA playoff series this year and getting that punch in the face. Miami's gone through it. It's nothing new to them. So I just think that's going to be kind of interesting. That's why, to me, playoff in any sports, it's just awesome. And especially when you have beautiful weather like this, it makes it that much better. Your help, guys. So follow the show at mmercado2333 or comment us on Facebook at facebook.com/MikeMercado2333.com. It is time for 5 seconds of hockey on WICB and the Chicago Beat. The New Jersey Devils tried to eliminate the New York Rangers and head to the Stanley Cup. And that was 5 seconds of NHL hockey on WICB and the Chicago Beat. So for everybody here at WICB Radio and the Chicago Beat, I am Mike Mercado. Please don't forget to help the show and share us on Facebook and on Twitter at mmercado2333. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Have fun, everybody. I'll see you next week on the Chicago Beat.